A big part of our media law practice extends beyond traditional legal strategies. It's also crisis communication and engaging with journalists when a crisis or a potential story arises. What is the number one thing a client should do if they're contacted by a journalist?
Well, that's a big question. Obviously, the first thing they should do is get in touch with BlackBay Lawyers, okay? The reason for it is because whilst we're obviously lawyers, we are a firm that is acutely aware of the importance of the public opinion. So we often refer to the term the court of public opinion, right? Because there's a lot of judgment and information that can be assumed from certain publications. So what we want to do is get ahead of any kind of messaging and publications in order to try, where possible, to steer the narrative and importantly get a client's side of the story into the publication.
Yeah.
Now, that is something that we determine on a case-by-case basis, because oftentimes it might be appropriate to put the side of the story into the publication and share that with the journalist. Sometimes it's necessary to be done on an off-the-record or backgrounding purpose, and sometimes it might be that there is nothing to be said at all, okay? But one of the key things is working with a sort of crisis team where the circumstances justify it, and in order to determine a strategy, the best strategy, media strategy and communication strategy moving forward, in order to advance the client's interests without impacting detrimentally the legal position.
Absolutely. It's very easy to get siloed in a legal question and not think about the impact that ongoing reporting or adverse media commentary can have. I mean, you can be successful ultimately in the court action that's in front of you, but what happens if you just drop the ball on the other aspect and you don't consistently defend your reputation or your company's reputation throughout? It's meaningless at the end.
That's right. So it's a really important balancing exercise to determine, okay, what kind of messaging do we need to get out there? Are we, going to protect our commercial interests? How do we best do that? How do we maintain status quo and, avoid a situation where the client is cancelled? I mean, it's all well and good to pursue a legal action, but in the meantime, the business or the individual may have been devastated and their reputation tarnished. So what we like to do is ensure that we take a holistic approach, considering the client's best interests, and sometimes it is about being proactive with the media, engaging with the media and ensuring the messaging is out there. But doing that in a way that isn't necessarily going to impact detrimentally, or in some instances completely do away with the legal strategy.
Yeah.
So
we see that time and time again, and it's just devastating, isn't it?
Yeah. So taking a dual approach, and that's something that we offer here within BlackBay. So we're actually quite fortunate to have wonderful individuals on board, and many with a long history in media and some former journalists within our practice. And so we like to leverage them, their understanding of the way media works and relationships with journalists in order to get that outcome for the client. And once that strategy is devised, deploying that in a way that protects all of their interests, not just their legal, but also their personal, reputational and commercial interests in a manner that is coherent and makes sense for the client.
Absolutely. And what are the types of communications available to a client if they are dealing with a journalist? Not everything has to be on the record, fulsome statements. There's other ways to communicate and to provide really important information to the media to stop that harm from happening in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's not just the legal letters, and obviously there are many instances where we have to prepare and issue urgent legal letters, so be it demands or concerns notices after the event of the publication. But there are times where we can actually deal with the journalist, provide them backgrounding information. Oftentimes it's simply clarifying the information, addressing the source and perhaps giving some information as to why the source has provided some kind of allegations to the journalist and to the media generally. So it's working to the extent possible with the journalist and helping them understand the client's position and response to the specific subject matter allegation or crisis at hand. So dealing with the journalists on the record, off the record, as the case warrants, as well as then obviously deploying correspondence to protect the client if we know that a publication is going to proceed, irrespective of what's been told on or off the record.
Yeah. And in addition to those forms of communications or protective statements, what we often see happening, or what we often recommend, is preparing statements to key stakeholders, employees, getting ahead of a story if you know it's coming, or just having correspondence ready to go, essentially, to make sure that you're keeping all the important people in the loop, and you're not, causing any concern, you're managing your relationships the whole way.
That's right. Those internal stakeholders, say for instance in the case of a corporate entity, all of their staff members, I mean, to find allegations or learn of them once the publication has aired or been published in print. It
Worst
can be,
case scenario.
Absolutely. So we always recommend that clients be cognizant of the impacts on internal stakeholders as well as external stakeholders. And so where we often assist is forming and shaping communications to be distributed, selectively or broadly, having regard to the audience and the recipients of those communications in a way that's designed to, minimise or mitigate the impact, give the assurances to individuals or clients, employees, clients, or whomever else, of the falsity of allegations or the way that the issue is to be addressed. So it's absolutely fundamental to get ahead of that. And that's part of our practice, and we love assisting people, and it's often urgent, and so it's something that we take seriously and prioritise, where it's needed. Given BlackBay's unique position in assisting clients with both their legal and communications and crisis strategy, it's unsurprising that we've got some information and guides out there on our website, including most recently a wonderful article authored by Naomi Shivaraman, our legal affairs strategist, that goes into some of the benefits and purposes of adopting a coherent, workable legal and communications strategy.